What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to my channel and welcome to the first ever haircut tutorial I'm doing. Today I'm just going to keep it simple. It's a buzz cut with mid to high fade. There's going to be times where the angle of the camera isn't the best. I apologize for that. Bear with me. This is my first time recording a tutorial. But as the tutorials come along, they're going to get better and better. I still wanted to put it out for you guys. If you guys enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and don't forget to comment down any other videos that you guys want me to post. So without further ado, let's get straight to the cut, and I'll see you guys next time. Have a blessed day.
Alright, as I mentioned, this is a buzz cut, so we're going to start with going number 4 open on the top. And one thing you guys are going to notice is that I'm going to go through the hair in all the different directions, because especially with his hair, it grows in different directions. So I want to make sure that I'm going against the hair with every hair and getting all the hairs to the same length. And so you guys will see me here go through it, especially around the crown area. You want to be careful. It's very easy to miss hairs, and oftentimes even after the haircut is done, after the lineup and everything, before I let them out of the chair, I go over the top again, especially with buzz cuts, just to make sure it's even and I didn't miss any hairs. Alright, so the next step, we're setting in our bald line, and here I'm using my Babyliss Black FX trimmers. These are my favorite trimmers to use. I have 2 of them, and my boy Ace, he's actually the barber you guys are seeing in the background. He's ear gapped them for me so perfectly. I use them for lineups, I use it on kids, I use it for bulk, and it does everything. And so again, back to the haircut, you guys can see I'm setting in my bald line, going slowly, making sure I'm setting in a nice even line. And then we're going to go out, take the bulk out with our trimmers, making sure we're not missing any hairs and we're working clean. So the next step is to take out our shavers and bald out under the bald line. And you guys will see here I'm using my Bronze Series 9. This is my go-to shaver, my favorite shaver, the shaver that I recommend to every barber. If you guys have not used one, if you guys don't have one, I recommend you get it. It's a little bit on the pricier side, but it is so smooth, does not tug, goes through any type of hair, and it is extremely comfortable to use. But yeah, back to the haircut. As you guys can tell, I'm flicking out at the end, making sure not to leave any harsh lines. It's going to make it very hard for me to take out my zero line when I get to my fading. So the next step, you guys will see I'm using my 1.5 guard open, and the reason I'm going with this, normally I would start with a 2, but because he had cut his hair recently, his hair wasn't really long enough on the sides for a number 2, so I started with my 1.5 open, and you guys will see I'm kind of flicking as much as I can going into the top, because it is a number 4 on top. I just want to kind of blend into it and not really set any harsh guidelines. Later into the haircut, you'll see that I will actually take out my number 2 and even my number 3, just to detail that part. But we're just gonna go ahead, use our number 1.5 right now, using a lot of my corners when we're getting towards that top and flicking out. I'm gonna be fading down. As you guys can see here, I'm just closed my lever to fade down to a 1.5 guard closed. This is kind of, I guess, like a sandwich method where I fade down to 1.5 closed and then fade up the traditional way. I just find that this is easy, and it's one of the, especially on his hair, it's one of the systems I like to use. And you guys will see throughout my tutorials, I like to use different systems depending on the hair, depending on what clippers I'm using, and etc., and a lot of different factors. So as you guys can see here, again, I'm trying not to set any harsh guidelines. I'm just flicking out, going right under where I left off with the 1.5 open. Alright, next, as I mentioned before, I said I would grab my number 2. I'm grabbing it here. I just found that it was a little bit too dark, and the blend wasn't really as detailed as I'd like it when it came to that parietal ridge area. So I just grabbed my number 2 and went, especially using a lot of my corners there. And again, next step, I said I would fade up, so I'm creating a guideline here with my lever open. And by the way, as you guys can tell, I'm using the Low Pro FXs, one of my favorite clippers to use right now, along with the Stylecraft Rebels. And I'll actually be dropping a long-term review on both of those clippers very, very soon. And back to the haircut. As you guys can tell, I'm just setting my bald line. For the purposes of this video, I'm just going to be showing you guys this one side, but this is how I usually cut. I do like to just do one side and then go to the other side. When I first started doing it this way, it was a little bit hard to keep both sides symmetrical, and a lot of times I would have to go back to the first side and then kind of match them. But now that I've done it so many times, it's a lot more efficient for me that way, so I don't have to keep turning the chair after every step. Now I just do one side, and I actually do the back. I split the back in half as well. I know a lot of other barbers like to do one side, and then connect them in the back, and I understand that. But for me, I find this is the easiest, most efficient way to do it. And while I don't really spend any specific time on the back fading, I do at the end go ahead and detail the back, because usually it will need a little bit of detailing because I'm not spending any focused time on it. So as you guys can see here, I've just gone through with my lever closed, opening the lever as I go up into the guideline, just playing with my lever, trying to get that line out as best as I can. And you guys will see there's still a very faint line, and I will come out with my trimmers and kind of get that line out, because that's what I set the line with. And there it is. Like I said, I'm just using the corners of my blade, again, not really trying to take the fade up or go into the hairs. There was just a very faint line that I saw, so I wanted to take it out. I'm just using my trimmers, the corner of my blade at all times. I'm never using the whole blade, when doing this. I'm just using the corner of the blade to detail it and get that line out. And a lot of times when I see beginner barbers struggling to take that bottom line out, it might be because their trimmer might be really zero gapped, or they went a little bit too hard or too high with the shaver. And this is one of the things I recommend, is I say go with your trimmer at the bottom of the line, flick out, use the corners, and a lot of the times you're gonna see that line go away. Alright, now we're kind of meeting the fade in the middle from where I faded down and faded up, and we're using our number 1 open. And here you'll actually see I'm not really trying to set in a guideline. I'm flicking out, going pretty much right under where I left off with the 1.5 closed. And the reason for that is because I'm not really trying to set in a new line. I'm just trying to blend the lever open into the 1.5 closed, using my number 1 guard, and going to go after with my half guard to detail. And so here, like I said, I'm closing the lever. Still, remember, I'm flicking it out. And honestly, you don't necessarily need to do this. You can just go in with your half guard. I just like to do this because it helps. I find that it helps me with efficiency and not creating another line when going in with my half guard, because it just helps lighten the line. It sometimes does fade out the line, but usually all it does is lighten up that guideline. So when you go in with your half guard, it's a lot easier and a lot smoother to get rid of that line. Right, and like I said, we're going in with our half guard here, and you guys will see I actually started with my half guard halfway open, and that's because I find most of the time anyways, with the lever all the way open, you're not gonna see much blending happening. And although I recommend pretty much all beginners to start with your half guard all the way open, usually when I'm at the shop every day, I don't really do that. I start with it halfway open, and then close it gradually as I go, or open it as I need to detail. But again, if you're a beginner barber, with all your guards, I recommend start open and close it gradually, and if you need to, because as it goes in barbering, once you cut the hair, you can't put it back on, so you gotta be safe. And especially if it's a new client or you're a beginner barber, you want to be as cautious as possible. But once you understand a client's hair, and once you've kind of done this for a longer period of time, you can mold your system into how you like it, how you cut hair, and how efficient you want to be. Alright, now time for the lineup. He does not have a perfect hairline in the slightest, and he knows that, and we talked about this with him. So we're not really going for anything super sharp. We want to keep it kind of natural, but still line it up and clean it up. So as you guys can tell, I started right there in the middle, and I'm kind of taking that to the right side, and then I'll go and take it over to the left side as well, going slowly, making sure I'm combing the hairs down. His hair does usually stick up, but I just want to see, you know, if there's any hairs that I missed. So that's one way to always make your lineups crispier, is to do a comb check. So comb the hair down, see if there's any hairs you missed, and quite honestly, the more you do it, the more comb checks you do, the cleaner your lineup is going to be. So here, as you can tell, I came to the other side to do the, I guess for us, left side, for him his right side. And one thing you'll see me do here is I put my middle finger down on his, I guess it's on his eyebrow. This is what I like to do when I do lineups, whether it's a C cup, front hairline, if I'm lining up behind the ears, and that's because it gives me stabilization. And while maybe I would be able to do it without doing that, without using my rest finger, I find it helps a lot. It makes it a lot easier, and especially if your hands shake a little bit, when you know a lot of ours do. I like to use that rest finger to stabilize myself, and you guys can see I'm still doing it when doing his vertical bars there. And here you guys see me checking in the mirror, making sure the hairline is straight. This is, I think, very, very important. Your mirror is your third eye. Your mirror does not lie to you, and it's always important to check into the mirror, whether when you're fading or when you're lining up, because a lot of times you can see things in the mirror that your naked eye won't see. So I recommend whenever you're doing a lineup, whenever you're doing your fades, always use your mirror and make sure you're taking advantage of it being there. Back to the haircut. Just going over the lineup with my straight razor to make it a little bit crispier, a little bit sharper. If you guys don't do this, come on, you got to do this. You got to, take that extra step for your clients and for your service. I highly recommend you do get a straight razor and start doing razor on your lineups. Some clients may not like it, so it's important to ask them, but I highly recommend that you do this. There you guys go. That is the finished haircut. Let me know what you guys think. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Have an amazing rest of your day, and I'll see you guys in the next one.